Greetings of the day. I, Dr. Arti Singh, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Kristu Jayanti College. Today I am going to discuss Trompena's 7 dimensions for cultural diversity, which comes under the subject Cultural Diversity at Workplace. To introduce with cultural diversity at workplace, we are going to discuss, we should understand what is cultural diversity. This is nothing but the employees coming from the different background, different religions, different caste, different beliefs, different sexual orientations. How we are able to inculcate all the employees coming from the different cultures, their beliefs and their understanding in the organization and work towards the productivity of the organization. So definitely cultural diversity is a variety of cultures and identities that exist within a society. It's a common heritage of the humanity that's important or the diversity. So definitely people coming from the different cultures and we are able to sustain in the same organization in order to increase the productivity and in order to improvise their efficiency and capability, because people will be from different backgrounds, different interests, different skills, different talents and needs. So that is the subject. In this particular subject, what I am going to deal is Trompena's 7 dimensions. So definitely Trompena's 7 dimension was given in 1990s, and it was given as one of the theories is given by Trompenar and Hampsten, and in order to make sure that the cultures have an impact on the organizational behavior of an individual. These Trompenar and Hampton did a study of a decade, understanding the employees, how does their cultures impact to the study on the organization or the behavior of the organization. Basically, when we talk about the Trompena's cultural dimension, he believed that culture is a study of how people come together to survive in the world, how they may behave, what they value, how their groups or their cultures have an impact on the behavior in the organization in which they work. So coming on in detail, Trompena gave 7 cultural dimensions. These dimensions were universalism versus particularism, individualism versus communitarianism, specific versus diffuse, neutral versus affective, achievement versus ascription, sequential time versus synchronous time, internal direction versus external directions. These are the 7 dimensions given by Trompenar. Coming in detail on each of the dimensions and its impact and which countries follow that. The first dimension is universalism versus particularism. Now, universalism is a culture where all are treated same, and they involve the friends or the what we say as the loved ones and all. They focus more on the rules rather than the relationship. If the rule is made in the organization, the rule remains for everyone same. The countries like UK, US, Canada and Australia, if they have the rules is for everyone common. You do not give any kind of a modulation or if you have any kind of relationships or a loved ones and all. So that particular kind of a culture is called as universalism culture. Whereas when you talk about the particularism culture, here there is a modulation. You find relationship more important. So if any kind of loved ones are there, you can change rules for them. So there is a modulation in the rules, not just concentrating on the rules, concentrating on the loved ones and the relationships and all. Not just rules that which has to be followed. It can be changed for the loved ones, near ones or the family members or the important people. Countries like Korea, China, Russia, Latin America follow the culture of particularism. Coming on to the next, which is you have a second one, which is individualism and communitarianism culture. Now, individualistic culture, when we say, it is the outcome what you have making a choice for. So that is what is called as individualistic culture. Because of your choice, this is a particular outcome of your life. It is being followed in the countries like Canada, UK, US and Australia. Whereas when we say communitarianism, this is a culture being followed by Japan, Africa, China, Latin America, where they try to improve the quality of life by communicating with others, by being loyal to their groups. They form the groups, they communicate with the groups, they trying to be loyal with the groups. Then that kind of culture is called as communitarianism culture. Coming on to the next, we have specific as diffuse versus diffuse, which is a third dimension of a Tramponas. When we say specific culture, here people tend to keep their personal life and work life separate. There is no interconnection between the personal and the work life. Countries like US, UK and Netherlands follow specific cultures. Their personal life is separate, that will not be interconnected with their work life, whereas their work life is separate, that will not be interrelated with their personal life. Coming on to the diffusive culture, they say that personal life and the work life should be interconnected in order to be much more productive, in order to be much more efficient. This culture says that when we discuss about the personal lives in their working life, we are able to discuss and solve out many other problems. Countries like India, China, Argentina and Spain follow the diffusive culture. Coming on to the fourth dimension, we have a neutral and affective. Now, neutral culture is a culture where people tend to share their emotions, right? They do not share their emotions. They know each individual have their own emotions, but they do not share their emotions. Emotions are there, but emotions are kept under a check and a control. So, countries like Netherlands, UK and Germany, they follow the neutral culture, or people where they have a check on their emotions, they control the emotions, they do not share the emotions. Neither they just discuss the emotions. Versus we have affective culture, where the countries like Italy, Spain, Latin America, they follow affective culture, where they share the emotions, they discuss the emotions. They consider that when we discuss the emotions, we become much more efficient in their work as well. Coming on to the fifth dimension of Tramponas cultural dimension, affective culture versus ascription culture. Definitely achievement culture says it's you achieve the status depending on your knowledge and skill. What you have, that will be visible in your work, that you have this knowledge, you have this skill and you have achieved this particular status. Countries like US, UK, Germany and Scandinavia follows this culture of achievement. Whereas when we say ascription culture, these are the cultures which are based on who you are, depending on your social status, depending on your education, depending on your age, the culture is given to you. Right? It's not based on what knowledge or skill is being shown to you. For example, Japan, Italy, France are the countries which follow the culture of ascription. Coming on the sixth dimension of Tramponas cultural dimension, we have sequential time and synchronous time. Now, sequential time culture is a culture where people give much more importance to time. Time-bound work they do. If a time frame has been given to you, you have to finish that particular project or a work in that designated time period. For example, countries like US, UK and Germany follow this culture. Whereas synchronous time culture is a culture, they say they believe on their past, present and future, and they think all the past, present and future are interwoven. Because of this, people do several things at once and do not concentrate much on the time boundness and all. They think that time is interchangeable. Countries like Japan, India and Mexico follow the synchronous time culture. Coming on the last, seventh dimension of the Tramponas cultural dimension, we have internal direction and external direction. Internal direction culture, here people believe that they can control their environment to achieve the goals. They are much more focused on the selfishness. They have their one team, they focus on their self, they focus on their team, they focus on the one organization. They just focus on the selfishness and all. Countries like UK, US, Australia follow the internal direction culture, whereas external direction culture, here people are the one who believe that they work with their environment to achieve the goal. Whatever the environment is persisting you, with that environment they get involved themselves and do the work. They think that getting involved with the culture, with the environment and then achieving the particular goal is much more beneficial and is much more productive. So they build a strong relationship and do the work along with their environment. Countries like China, Russia, Saudi Arabia follow the external direction. In order to conclude this particular topic, we have discussed the 7 dimensions of Trompena's cultural dimension. These are universalism versus particularism, individualism and communitarianism, specific dimension and diffuse dimension, neutral and effective, if achievement versus ascription, sequential time versus synchronous time, internal direction versus external dimension. These are the 7 dimensions which has a huge impact on the cultural diversity at a workplace. Thank you for your patient listening.